Firstly, I would like to introduce Kaustubh Patekar. Kaustubh is the CEO of ProdZen, which focuses on product management, consulting, and training. Also, he's a mentor with our DeepTech Club and has advised many of our DeepTech product companies and startups in the Nasscom DeepTech Club on various aspects of product management. He also writes prolifically on LinkedIn on different facets of product management. So welcome, Kaustubh.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tapan Tripathy. He is the Chief Innovation Officer at Schneider Electric India, and Schneider being right at the forefront of electric mobility, battery tech, electric mobility. It gives us a very good enterprise manufacturing kind of a feel on how do you scale deep tech from those domains. So welcome, Tapan. Our third speaker for the day is Vijaykumar. Vijaykumar C is the Vice President Software Engineering at the Global Capability Center of Walmart Global Tech India. And he can share like different aspects of being a GCC center, innovation center in India. How do you kind of manage different aspects of product management in building those products? So welcome all, and over to you for an engaging discussion on building product management for building deep tech products.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Amol, and thank you, Nasscom, for the opportunity. We have about 20 minutes, and we'll try to keep the ball rolling. But before we do that, let me just frame the conversation, and then we'll do intros. So it was nice to see Narendra talk about how far deep tech has come in India. Though that discussion in general focused on startups. So I've been fortunate enough to be part of the DeepTech Club for the last 4 years. So it's great to see startups in deep tech now doing not just AI and ML and more computing stuff, but also getting into space tech, building rockets, drones, things when I studied aerospace engineering seemed only in the books, now are actually on the ground. So that's really exciting to see. And with that, we'll jump into our today's topic. And we'll talk about, what does it take to actually build these deep tech products? I think Amol mentioned that it takes a while. Yes, that's indeed true. But that's also true for building any innovative products. And, I've been part of building products for almost 20 years, most of it in software, a little bit in software hardware. And the last 8-9 years in India have been really eye-opening to see the kind of innovation that is happening. And in the last few years, the mantra has been, how do you build from India for the world? So that's where we will focus. And hopefully I can share some of my insights and learning in terms of what is happening in startups as well as large companies. So I'm glad to have Tapan from Schneider Electric and Vijay from Walmart, so that people don't believe that, it's just the startups doing the deep tech. So with that, I'll hand it over to Tapan. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about maybe, some of the initiatives, one or two, and the biggest challenge you see in building deep tech, from your vantage point. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaustubh, and good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be part of this esteemed forum and discussing a very important subject like deep tech. As Kaustubh said, I'm currently the Chief Innovation Officer for Schneider Electric, which is a 40 billion global organization, and now highly focused on India as an area of development and also business. I have spent more than 30 years in development of products, so I'm more in a product space, which is product and solution for power distribution product and digitalization and doing all the kind of energy management area. And that has been my experience in both earlier in L&T and then Schneider. And now I look after the part of Chief Innovation, where I focus on how do you really build these new technologies and be prepared. Basically, my idea is to create the roadmaps for both, the classical box 3 strategy roadmaps, not only looking for now and also for the deep tech one, which is going to be future. So that's why I'm a bit of, I know the challenges which you are facing in creating it. As we are into energy management and automation areas, deep tech plays a very crucial role, and we are looking forward to these areas to really invest on how do we improve our efficiency and also our offering or USPs to the customer. So this is what we were. Now challenges, as you rightly know, deep tech is an evolving area where the ecosystem is not ready in the country. Whether it is in a policy or it is funding, anything which takes longer time, the kind of funding mechanism is not ready. The government of India support system is not as good as it is there in the Western world. And today there are lack of little bit of partnership happening between the academia, between the industry or the startups world. So how do we really create something which will be useful to the customer tomorrow, and we can create a value for tomorrow? Because this is not something where a customer will tell you do this or do that. How do you really understand the upcoming technology and find out that, put it in your products to give a value to the customer where they will be ready to pay 5 7 years down the line is a challenge. So classic
Right.
voice of customer do not work. So my job is to see how do I, do outside in and technology bind them together to look for a future product. So this is the challenge which I see from a deep tech point of view. I will add further in the subsequent discussion. I think
Certainly.
that's
And
the
you cheated. You added more than one challenge during the discussion. But like you rightly said, I think there are a lot of challenges. Certainly collaboration is a big challenge. Not having a direct voice of customer, having a long brewing period where you might start building today but see the fruits of it 4 5, perhaps never in some technology. So thank you for that characterization. I will hand it over to Vijay. Vijay, please tell us a little bit about what you are doing and some of the challenges you see. Let's keep it short so we can discuss some of the challenges and questions from the audience as well. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Okay, sure. Hello, everyone. This is Vijay. Thank you for the opportunity and I'm glad to be part of this panel discussion. So I'm with Walmart for last 4 years, working in the platform teams. Platform teams at Walmart, we do cover all the technology capabilities on the cloud. In the context of this session, deep tech, Walmart as a Fortune 1 company, our vision is save money so the customer can live better. Walmart always been a front runner in leveraging the deep tech product to our customer. So anything in the deep tech that has a customer touch point and has an impact to the customer life, yes, we are there to explore, innovate the business use cases, adopt and scale. Some of the challenges I would actually look at more from as a deep product tech, the life cycle is actually more into an early stage as a POCs or a kind of a pilot. Then we do a research and a development and then go into the adoptability market kind of compatibilities and the growth. So where the Walmart actually where we play is actually once the early stage is done, because our core strength is actually solving the customer problem in the retail space, and we do it very passionately because going back to our vision. So some of the challenges that we look at it is actually how do we actually collaborate with a lot of startups who have actually kind of done the uh, the initial kind of R&Ds and kind of vetted out uh, the technology things. And once it is done, most of the time the startups wouldn't know how do you take it to the end customer, and that's where the Walmart plays a very significant role, because we understand the domain, we understand the customers, we understand the industry really well, and we understand the grassroots level of problems. So when we collaborate with most of this technology startup companies, and we actually pilot together in terms of like how do we take it to the market, and then how do we actually scale it, because what we bring to the table is a scale, massive scale. And there are quite a few things that we have done it in the last couple of years. We will talk as we move forward.
Okay, great. Thank you for adding that. And I'll bring a little bit of startup perspective to this discussion, given that I have a lot of opportunity to interact with startups. I think the first challenge is not having enough capital. So if I, as a startup founder or somebody who works with startups, I look at the challenges. I see big companies are moving too slow. They have great ideas, but no execution. I want to execute faster, but I don't have capital. And I need the support of investors, of course, and I need the support of big companies. So that's the challenge. Of course, challenges which Tapan mentioned, in terms of collaboration with research, academia, little bit is happening. It's not that it's not happening, but that's too far removed from where I am. So my biggest challenge is getting enough money to build it out and making sure I actually build the tech before I run out of money. What do you say to that, working in a big company, which the startup perception is, hey, you have unlimited funds, so, you can take your own sweet time and money to build it. I will have one of you respond to that, and then we'll take a slightly different question. Who wants to take it?
I'll take this, Kaustubh. It's not that big companies has a lot of money, but big companies do have money. What big companies do not have is the complexity in which they develop products, and hence the agility is missing. So my personal feel, and which is I'm now driving as my present role, is how do we partner it? So end of the day, the only solution is you have the big companies have the scalability advantage. They have the reach and scalability and also the fund. I think all the companies nowadays, we all have venture fund. We are skipping it separate for deep tech. So money is available. The question is, how do you get the right technology to partner with the startups, and finding out the suitable technology in which big companies feel they will get business tomorrow. So the forecasting of the right technology and finding out the right partner is the key. And I strongly believe that partnership is the key in success of tomorrow. Uncertainty is there, and hence a big company supported by a startups working together, bringing the agility and money is the solution. And that's where I believe in, and I would like to push. And we have tried in couple of cases in energy management, and we found success there. We tried in agri, we found success there. So I believe that is the way forward.
Great response, Tapan. I appreciate that. Collaboration, and I think you alluded to that even in your opening. That for deep tech to succeed, it's not just the collaboration between people who are innovating, whether large companies and startups, but perhaps also to include academia and research bodies to drive this. So that's a great point. And I'd like to switch gears a little bit and go back to one of the challenges which we talked about earlier, which is, while a lot of this deep tech innovation is happening in India, most of the consumption for this deep tech is outside of India, right? And sometimes it's very challenging to build from India for the world when you are far removed from the customer. So I will pass on this question to Vijay, and then I will add, given he mentioned that he's working out of India for Walmart. Of course, it has presence in India, but much wider presence in US and other countries. So why don't you tell us, how do you bridge that gap where you don't perhaps have direct access to customers, or some of the people who are working on deep tech may not have direct access or experience to the geography or economy for which you're building? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so there are, of course, two parts to it, right? One, working in an enterprise where we already have a presence in US and have the presence in India. The way we have actually structured our internal organization to make sure that we have a seamless connect to the business problems, business stakeholders. So multiple ways where we can actually establish the framework, where building in India and taking it to the abroad or global market is a lot more easier. So if I actually take the second aspect of it, which is more of a startup, let's say it is not done as part of any of the larger enterprise. So if you look at a broader aspect of India is known for the digital fact, right? All of the GCCs, the world of GCCs, all of them are coming to India because globalization has definitely helped us, India, to talent and the product, what we do today. And while we are looking to outreach outside India, the global consumer are also looking towards India, right? In terms of like, what is that India has to offer in this space? And there are multiple ways to look at it, especially given more from the startup standpoint. One is actually the funding part. Like VCs are pretty much interested to invest in most of the Indian startup, and deep tech is something that's picking up really well. And this investment also brings in a lot of partnerships and connects. I think that's one part. The talent, we look at a local talent, especially for a deep tech. I would actually categorize multiple dimensions to the talent. One who are on the job, one who are research, academics, and people who are actually into this in the basic science. So we can always reach out to a lot of universities where you can actually get while building the product itself. Then the next is a partnership. Again, going back to the partnership, because industry leaders outside India, they know the space well, they know the customers well, they know the problem space well. So there are multiple partnerships. As a Walmart, we have done it at different stages of the product, right? One, it could be during the early pilot itself, where we piloted it and then we have taken it to the larger market. Or some of them is a co-creation model where we understand the concept, it is already POCs done, how you want to work together. And then also specialized consulting in terms of giving the market information back to the organization. So one last thing that I would actually also add is the go-to-market partnership, right? This is very critical because that's where startups struggle because they need an outreach to customers. So established enterprises, will have credible market presence. For example, if I have to, I can actually take at least 5 to 6 technologies, deep technologies that we are actually piloting. And at any point in time, we will have multiple things that we are piloting. For example, climate change is one thing that Walmart is looking at. And we are actually partnering with a company who's converting CO2 into yarn for cloth. So especially the piloting for the enterprise customers are a lot more easier, and partnering for a go-to-market strategy with those enterprises will definitely help to understand the needs, the regulatory constraint, and how do we actually compete in the landscape where
Sure.
the startup will struggle. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to make this about startup versus big company, but as most startups struggle in establishing any kind of partnerships, including signing paperwork with big companies. But we will not dwell on that for this discussion. But I'd like to come back to one fundamental issue, which I think both of you alluded to, which is sometimes, how do you actually define the direction for your product or initiative or company when sometimes it's unclear, when you will see success, and in some cases, whether you will see success, right? So like Tapan mentioned, even large companies don't have unlimited funds, though of course you have more funds than a startup. So in the face of uncertainty, one of the things I see is that, in that kind of uncertainty, being able to understand your business problem becomes key, even more than technology. A lot of these initiatives are driven by people who are understand and excited about the technology. And sometimes that can be a hindrance to actually solving the business problem, because you may or may not need deep tech for it. Of course, there are a lot of fundamental problems for which, innovation and new technology is required. So, I'd like to get your thoughts on how do you balance that, right? So where you are, you're definitely excited about the technology, but, you need to continuously keep an eye on the business case or problem, and then define an effort and investment of resources, which, might take a while. Yeah. Tapan, you want to take that kind of, because you are driving several such programs, why don't you share, how do you balance that out? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, this is a challenge. Product management of technology products is a challenge, and deep tech is a bigger challenge because of the uncertainty and the long drawn process. So, what we are doing it right now is, how do you do a better technology forecasting and understanding that what probably will be needed by the customer 7, 8 years down the line. So, that's an activity one has to invest in. This is one we do. Second is, then how do you create an ideal mix up between the mid-term, short-term, and long-term innovation roadmaps. I think this is what you try to do. We try to use the mid-term cases to support our long-term plan. Even if long-term plan, if I take 10, 2 may succeed, 8 may fail. But I need to have a strong mid-term. The only challenge which we face as an organization is in the existing product, how do you incorporate deep tech, and how do you put them in deep tech and still without much investment can make them useful to the market. I mean, that's a challenge, and that's why we are trying to do a different way, that any new product to be developed, a new solution to be developed, we need to make it scalable and adaptable, that should be with a minimal investment can be adapted to any new technology being coming out, so that you buy time for your 10%, 15% of investment, which is on a longer run process like deep tech. So what we do in our organization, we balance between these three boxes, a classical three-box strategy, and then see how do you fund it. So we do a 10, 30, 60 kind of funding. But my today challenge is designing a product which can be adapted very fast and scaled up very fast to adapt new technology. I think that's the solution. Otherwise, nobody will have the patience.
Okay, very nicely put. I appreciate the three-box strategy, and we'll switch gears, and I want to talk a little bit about a lot of deep tech, like you said, is hard because the uncertainty is greater, and perhaps that goes to a even higher level when you talk about some things and happening in agri-tech or space tech, or like one of the examples which Vijay gave is getting rid of CO2. So I'll give this first to Vijay. Talk maybe very briefly about some moonshot innovation that you're working on and the challenge and opportunity you see. Just briefly share us what is it that's going on. Yeah.
Sure. I'll actually pick it up from the last one, where we have piloted and adopted multiple deep tech just to give the industry aspect of adoption. We talked about a climate control. So another one, robotics technologies in our distribution and fulfillment centers. So what we do is actually we take one or two stores or distribution centers and we start automating and kind of look at what it is actually bringing to the table. And every tech adoption that we do, just connecting the marketing aspect of any innovation that we do, we actually look at it is, are we passing on all of this innovation to the customer at the end of the day, our stakeholders, our shareholders, and basically looking at, because what really matters for us is actually to make customer, if is he actually getting benefit out of it, especially with respect to going back to our vision. So the other one that we have actually working very closely with one of the organization is under drone delivery for the last mile shipment, and it is actually in pilot, and we are covering area by areas and moving uh, with the drone delivery. It is fairly successful in what we want to accomplish. Yeah.
I'll take 30 seconds to summarize, and Tapan, you can have the parting thoughts. So great discussion. It's while it may look like it's easy for big companies, it's not. And the approach to innovation is systematic. It's always uncertainty. So staying focused on customer use cases and business makes sense. And it's also somewhere to accept that not every initiative will succeed. So great. I'll pass it on to Tapan. Please share your parting thoughts, and then we will wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaustubh. I think there's no way out but to really invest on deep tech and remain invested. I believe that the country is in the right cusp of really creating the ecosystem. And even if sometimes we don't build the absolutely a new tech breakthrough technology, I think India is poised to actually use them and create, validate, and do the POCs for the world. And I strongly believe India can be the place where you can try it out the new technology and expand it globally. And that's an opportunity for us because we have the talent, we have the people. I am a strong believer of it, and we go forward, and I'm sure technology is going to make a difference, especially on the climate side of the story. It's a great story to build it.
Yeah, I really like the closing thought that, as a country, as an economy, we have an opportunity because we have the talent which is willing to learn. And if we can get some of these partnerships right, some of the collaboration between industry, academia, perhaps some regulation which is friendly to innovation, which is in the pipeline, I think that should be a great decade and more for companies from India to build deep tech. So with that, I'd like to thank you both, Tapan and Vijay, for joining us. Great discussion. Really nice talking to you. Thank you.